It's good to see you. Right, am I seeing everyone this morning?
Of course. It's good to
It's good to have you join us on this Wednesday's edition of This Morning Live on LN 24/7. I am Yemisi Lanredo.
And I am Emmanuel Abia. It's good to see you. It's good for you to
Good
see me
to
too.
see you, right? We're glad to have you join us this morning. And yes, it is a beautiful morning. Just yesterday, we heard that news that finally, the Port Harcourt refinery, one of them has been, restreamed. That's the word, restreamed, revitalized or revamped. What word again? Could you borrow me?
It's everything.
Everything,
You see why
right?
I'm happy. I am smiling. I am happy. In fact, I want to dance and, in excitement and in hope.
In hope,
It's
right?
a renewed hope.
And I hope that your smile is not a subtle
It's
shade.
renewed hope refinery.
Refinery. Anyways, whatever you call it. Anyway, I'm sure it is some sort of, hope renewed. Yes, I would use that word again for many Nigerians, hope renewed. And we hope that, yes, it would have a major impact on the prices of fuel as we go on. But then, that's part of our top stories this morning. So let's just look at it and let's see what we have for you lined up today on This Morning. And on our top stories, the very first one, yes, well, that's the news about it. Tinubu celebrates Port Harcourt refinery revival, direct reactivation of orders. That's a very, very first story on our developing stories this morning. And on the front burner, Nigeria's 2025 budget, how feasible? Yes, there was that, that assumption around that budget, that very, very optimistic. And with this latest report of the refinery, maybe it would have a major effect on this particular story that we're going to be looking at on the front burner. And also in the news, CBN hikes interest rates to 27.5%, cites surging in inflation. Plus, anti-NATO protesters march through Athens as Secretary General Ruth visits. Well, those are the top stories we're going to be rolling out for you this morning, and we hope to make it an interesting conversation all the way. Don't forget, you could also join us on all of these top stories as we open the phone lines. Well, our colleague Mono Balagogo would also be joining in the conversation. Hi, Mono. Hi, Mono. Good morning.
Good to see you guys today. I'm sure we're going to have a great time on the show today.
Mona, it's good to see you. I'm seeing Abuja and federal resources money showing on you. We thank the Lord. Refinery has started.
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
We could see that you're looking red, and that, that red is fire. So yes, refinery should be on fire.
Yes, it's Christmas season, so red, green, and gold. So it's Christmas season.
Yes, we hope to feel the impact. When I say fire now, it means, revamped, working in full capacity, although we know what capacity they have talked about. But yes, just in a moment, we will get back to the top stories right after now. Yes, so let's get to our developing stories. And that very first one, that one that seemed to reassure Nigerians yesterday, talking about President Bola Tinubu congratulating the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited and maybe Nigerians on the successful revitalization of the Port Harcourt refinery, marked by the official commencement of petroleum product loading on Tuesday. This is contained in a statement by Special Advisor to the President, Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga. On Tuesday, who said the President acknowledged the pivotal role of former President Muhammadu Buhari in initiating the comprehensive rehabilitating of all the country's refineries. He also expressed gratitude to the African Export-Import Bank for its confidence in financing this critical project. Well, let's take the other story also, Emmanuel, before we give our reactions to the story. That's talking about, meanwhile, the presidency on Tuesday also says about 200 trucks are set to load petroleum products daily from the Port Harcourt refinery. Speaking on his ex-handle, the special advisor on publications and orientation to the president, Sunday Dare, on his own part, said the refinery's old wing has resumed operations with a production capacity of 60,000 barrels of crude oil per day. According to the Post, the Port Harcourt refinery has two wings. The old refinery comes on stream today with an installed production capacity of 60,000 barrels per day of crude oil. Earlier, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, announced the commencement of crude oil processing at a government-owned facility. The commencement of production at the Port Harcourt refinery comes after a series of failed deadlines. Well, that's a story, or that's what we know, severally. It was so surprising. Emma, it was so surprising when we heard that news yesterday, and it did look like we didn't even hear anything around it before the news was broken to, Nigerians that, the Port Harcourt refinery, one of it, the very oldest one, which was established, or which was launched in about, I think, 1980, 1965, thereabouts.
The old one was established in 1965,
while the other was 1985. It is 89, yeah. So it was so surprising after so many delays, after so many announcements that, it wouldn't come on stream again. But yes, the restreaming has begun, and trucking of petrol will begin to, go out to Nigerians. And we're hoping that with this latest news, we want that significant impact on the prices of petrol. That is what we are looking out for from this latest news that we have got. Yes, a lot of Nigerians are still, skeptic about this news. That's the word, skeptic about it. Yes, based on the trust and the level of confidence that Nigerians have lost in the government over the years. And we're hoping that it is true. Yes, this is something we'd also be focusing on the front burner and asking an authority about how true or what he saw at that refinery when it was, brought back to stream yesterday, where he was also there. So we're hoping that, what will be coming out, this 60,000 barrels of crude, of refined products, I beg your pardon, will be something that is true and would impact Nigerians. Although I have, some reservations still about it fully impacting the prices of crude, the prices of oil at the pump price at the end of the day, which we'll talk about later. But then, that was a renewed kind of hope. I would use that word again from that news yesterday. I know you have a lot to say.
Well, renewed hope. I'm glad you used renewed hope. Of course, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu rode into office with the renewed hope mandate, renewed hope agenda, to renew the hope of Nigerians on the government. And I hope that Nigerians' hope have been renewed. You talked about if Nigerians really trust, the trust issues Nigerians have. We're coming from we're coming from a place where the Nigerian government till today have not explained what they did with Nigerian Airways. Till today, there's still so much secrecy about the monies were spent.
Emmanuel, don't be pessimistic.
No. I'm coming from somewhere. Okay. You talked about the trust issues. I'm talking about a government. So some people may want to argue that it's not the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but it's still the same APC. You cannot remove yourself from that old bunch. We're coming from a place where explanation has not been. I'm singling out Nigerian Airways. No proper explanation has been done to how those monies were spent, to how we used whatever to cover an Ethiopian Airways aircraft, and named it Nigeria Airways and presented it to Nigerians. And, we were all rejoicing that we now have something to call our own. But the next thing we heard was, that whole controversy surrounding that particular matter. What do you think Nigerians will feel like with that whole thing happening? We know what has been happening with Dangote Refinery recently. Our NNPC and Dangote has been in the brawl, and the whole back and forth. NNPC want to be the sole marketer of Dangote's oil, and the ones that will take it away from the PMS, away from Dangote Refinery and supply it. They want to be the sole supplier. Then the next thing we hear, okay, everybody is free for all.
That was really what made it suspect.
Yes, everybody is now. The next thing we are seeing is this surprise package by NNPC announcing it
was a real whole lot of surprise package.
Refinery that we have been waiting for so long. With all the postponement of resumption date, we've been moving it. Suddenly,
it came on stream.
An angel
It came back on stream. An angel, right?
Anyway, let me hear one.
Mono.
Okay.
I mean, what more can I say? It's just a little bit surprise for Nigerians, because recall they said that this will come live on stream in August, and then the year is almost running out, and then we get this surprise. But a lot of questions comes to mind. Will it really reduce the price of petrol? That's a very big question that we should be asking, because it's not just all about the propaganda. The refineries are working. You saw when the Dangote refinery came on stream, and then Nigerians was expecting that the prices of the product will drastically reduce. But that is not likely. And even with this announcement, what are the hopes that the price will reduce? That is what Nigerians want, and that's why all across social media, they're not really excited, apart from those, who voted for this government and those who speak so well about this government. They are the ones who are pretty excited about this. Key question 2 to ask is, why did it have to take this long for this refinery to come on stream? What is the play here? Because Dangote is supposedly getting the crude material from the NNPC, buying it in Naira. So with this refinery back on stream, is Dangote going to be competing? Do we have enough crude oil to go around for both the local refineries and also the Dangote refinery? What is going on? And it'll be very interesting to see how Dangote will respond to the coming upstream of this refinery. Is there going to be competition with regards to the raw material? Is Dangote going to have to import in the crude? These are some of the questions that will be intriguing for Nigerians to see. And those trucks that are supposed to lift the products from the Port Harcourt refinery, how much are they going to be getting it, and how much will NNPC stations be selling far lower than independent marketers and, of course, other major marketers? So in terms of the price, what are some of the modalities to some of this development? So this is another crucial question that we need to ask.
All right.
Then the next question I want to ask is the question of sustainability, because this government will do its own thing. After 4 years, if Tinubu is re-elected into power, there's continuity. But if a government comes in, will there be continuity? You look at from the era of the Obasanjo regime, down to Yar'Adua, down to Goodluck Jonathan, down to President Muhammadu Buhari, and how local refineries, it's as if there's a spell that was placed on the refineries not to work. And all of a sudden, Tinubu has got the magic wand, and voila, the refinery is back on stream. And they are promising us that by 2025, the other local refineries will come on stream. So, I mean, but we must give kudos to the Tinubu administration for making this possible, but to see sustainability in terms of how this can really go well. You look at the Ajaokuta Steel Company, monies keep being pumped into these sectors, but yet we are not yet to get the full goods from these industry, whether it is the Ajaokuta Iron and Steel Company or it is this particular refinery. Then another important question to ask, Yemisi and Emmanuel Abia, all that we have spent in reactivating these refineries, what is our returns? One is going to be the profit margin. So that backs the question about sustainability. It's not just about pumping taxpayers' money into the risk. We'll generate the revenue. Are we going to get the monies that we have spent so far? Otherwise, why even bother in the first place? These are some of the questions that I have to ask.
Yeah, you've posed the right questions, Mono, and not speaking for the government now, I think that the very first question about the prices and the impact of this refinery restreamed, we will not get the quick impact that Nigerians would want. You know, we're buying at about 1,000, and a lot of people will be hoping that there will be about 200% drop. But no, because first of all, let's look at the machinery that we're using to, you know, refine this product. Many of these parts are not even are not bought here or not made here. So we would still be importing. That's one thing. And of course, whatever we're importing, we'll tell on the prices of the pump price at the end of the day. So that's one. Talking about the taxpayers' money that you also talked about, that's the sustainability and all of that, the taxpayer money. I think, or one thing I would be asking or seeking that the government does or will do is, you know, NNPCL is now is now owned by NNPC and partly is a limited liability company. So I think it should be made public as well, probably put on a stock exchange and allow Nigerians also buy into it. And that way, our books will be made public. And Nigerians can see there could be that transparency that we've been seeking about what goes on in NNPC and how the monies are spent. I think that is one crucial area the government should look at, because it would, on the long run, allow Nigerians to see how their monies, the taxpayers' monies, are being spent. That's one area. And continuity, you talked about, that's very, very crucial, and it's not something that should be questioned. Because yes, we know Tinubu will do is another government will come in. The continuity has always been an issue, and maintenance is an issue for Nigeria. How do we plan to sustain these refineries? Yes, if all other refineries come on stream, it would enable healthy competition. We don't know what happened. We don't know why suddenly they just decided to restream immediately after Dangote. You know, that's a question begging for answer. But then they are back. We are happy that one of the refineries is back.
I think somebody else should start building another refinery so that maybe it would inspire the government to restart all of our refineries, because it seems like when one person, you know, decides to bring up an idea and start up a business, the government get inspired. See, this is what we always say.
The government needs inspiration.
Competition is what will make the market, it's what will balance the market. Healthy competition, not the one that you're trying to kill the other person's business.
It is very crucial.
Healthy competition would bring a balance to the market. Talking about the price drop, we saw when Dangote was about resuming refining fuel, the price of fuel moved up from about 600 to 900 naira. The price of fuel moved up before the announcement. Till today, we have not gotten a proper explanation to say, you know, that's when the subsidy was really removed. No proper explanation. Now, this same NNPCL, let's not forget, an announcement was made recently that, you know, they want to stop the importation of PMS. And suddenly, another announcement, a counter announcement was made by the NNPCL saying, you know, we did not really stop anybody, or we're not really stopping the importation of PMS into the country. You know, claims and counterclaims back and forth, the whole secrecy that is around this area. Why so much secrecy? Why so? The NNPCL, let's not forget, is I don't believe. This is it personally. I don't believe they exist for the good of Nigerians because it's a company, it's a private business.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope.
Run
Let's hope that
run by the government. Yes, I understand. You know, managed by
Partly.
but they're partly by the government. But then, antecedents. You know, looking over time, with the way it has run over time. Can we really say, with all the non-transparency that we have witnessed so far, can we really say that they are for Nigerians? They are for the benefit of Nigerians.
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt with this latest one that has happened.
Yeah, we see also this refinery that is there. It's an old refinery that is refining, churning out way less oil, way less products than it should be. You understand? It's not working as today's refinery should work because you're putting in 60,000 barrels of crude oil and bringing out 1 million liters of PMS with 60,000 barrels.
It's been revitalized. It's been revamped. Let's give it time. It's working at 70% capacity at the moment.
I'm very optimistic, but I'm just saying there should be more transparency.
The phone lines are open because we want to hear from you as well. How optimistic are you? Are you happy that, you know, the refinery, after a long time, has now come back on stream? So the lines are open, the numbers are there. We want to hear from you. But just before we go on with that conversation, let's also, you know, look at, you know, the data. We have a graphical representation of what's happening at that refinery at the moment. The board and management of NNPCL Limited has, you know, clarified some of the issues here. We've seen some reports here and there about what's coming out of that refinery. But Port Harcourt Refinery daily output, developing stories from what we have with the graphics. Now, the old Port Harcourt Refinery is currently, just as I said earlier, operating at 70% of its installed capacity, with plans to ramp up to 90%. The refinery is producing straight-run gasoline, naphtha, blended into 1.4 million liters of premium motor spirit, well, kerosene, 900,000 liters. Well, for the automotive gas oil, that's the Argo or diesel, about 1.5 million liters will be churned out from that refinery per day, exactly. And low profile oil, LPFO, about 2.1 million liters is expected from the refinery. Now, liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, with additional volumes also is expected to be seen. Now, the refinery incorporates Crack C5, a blending component from its sister company, Indorama Petrochemicals, formerly Eleme Petrochemicals, and that's to produce gasoline that meets required specifications. All this statement is coming from NNPCL. Well, blending is a standard practice in refineries globally, as no single unit can produce gasoline that fully complies with any country's standards without such processes. So that's given some sort of, you know, clarification to the news going around that what is coming out from that refinery is not petrol, is not PMS. So NNPCL has been able to give us, you know, some clarity there. So yes.
Well, yeah, you know, when you talk...
Before that, let's take a look at what the Petram press statement that we will be having him later on the show, but he did give a press statement earlier about that refinery that was, you know, reopened yesterday. Let's hear from him. All right, that's the statement from the Petroleum Petran, a PRO, that's talking about Dr. Obele, and, well, commending the NNPCL CEO, Mele Kyari, and, you know, the leadership and all of that, and getting it finally restreamed for Nigerians. So we'll be getting more details from him later on the show. Yes, you were talking, Emmanuel.
You know, when you talked about blending, I remember what Dangote said about these blending plants that existed in Malta, where Nigeria's crude oil is taken to Malta and blended. and brought back to Nigeria in qualities that is not good for our, vehicles here. I am very much concerned about the quality that is going to come out from NNPCL's refinery. It should be checked. Who is going to be the regulator of this quality?
And we have the DP, the body that is responsible
I
for
understand. Not like there's no, I'm not saying there's no regulator, but how transparent are they going to be with telling us the real quality of what particular product, of those products that are coming out from there? We need all of this on the table, because it's not just about giving us food. Are you giving us poisonous food? Exactly. So we need proper investigation. In fact, it should be open for all. We should know what we are consuming.
I know Mono
anything that is done in a hurry. This was done in a hurry for me, because there was no.
Did you feel that was in a hurry? We have waited for this.
We have
for
waited,
about 5 years that it has been shut down. Every of the refineries shut down for about 5 years now, and we had waited for this announcement this year. Several, delays, and Melekiari would come back and tell us, oh, we can't go on stream again. This is what has. So I really don't think there was a rush. Well, the only thing is that, maybe suspect is, why? How come we didn't hear about it? I know there is always that leak one way or the other, but we didn't even hear about this at all. Was it a deliberate attempt?
An announcement was made, when all of this controversy about Dangote refinery has been on for a while. Now suddenly NNPCL wakes up and tells us, after trying to be the sole marketer and distributor of Dangote's, if you had that plan, this particular plan of refinery kickstarting in mind, why go ahead to block the way for other people to go to Dangote's refinery? I'm just very much concerned. I'm very concerned.
Mono Imah is concerned here, and he felt, well, it's a rush. It was a rush. That announcement yesterday, or that re-streaming yesterday.
Well, for me, I wouldn't say it was more of a rush, but there's so many questions that we need to ask in the Nigerian oil and gas industry, because you ask yourself, yes, we agree that, this probably was not a rush, because they've been announcing for some time now that they will come live on stream, but that has not happened till yesterday. Now, the bigger question is, why did it have to take so long? What were some of the excuses? Why would you tell Nigerians that you're coming up live and then postpone again and again? This was what we witnessed during the Muhammadu Buhari administration, and then we carried it over into the Bola Tinubu administration. Then, surprisingly, is it a coincidence that this is just right after the Dangote refinery kick-started? So that goes to show that the Dangote refinery is really helping to unravel, a lot of behind-the-scenes menace that was not really obvious to Nigerians. Of course, there have been speculations about some of the menace in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. And then you look at Dangote's accusations of some people in NNPC having refineries and all of that. So it will be a disgraceful situation if this refinery did not come live on stream. Because politically speaking, this will definitely affect the president's chances in 2020. And when you look at politics and how some of these developments, it's not surprising, because there's always political calculations to all of us. There's always something political that we must mind in terms of how this information comes to be. But I'm hoping to God that we will not hear in the next 3 months that the refinery has collapsed, maybe because of something, a machine that broke down and all of that. Recall when they were saying mechanical completion, whatever that means, and then now fully live on stream. Let's also remember that the refinery in Port Harcourt, there are actually two, the old and new. So what's happening with the new one? When will that one come live on stream? Then looking at the refinery in Warri and also Kano now. So these are some of the key issues that we need to look. So, time will just actually tell this play out, because for me, I wouldn't say let's just be the moment.
Yes.
And see how that plays out, because we're watching closely.
Yes, Mono, thank you so much for that. And it's Kaduna, by the way, not Kano refinery. So we have two in Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna. And, you know, on a lighter note, just to round up on this conversation, I think we all need to go for some trust therapy here. When you talked about, you know,
it's
after
not
3
our
months.
fault. It's not our fault. It's the way we have been
We all
treated.
need that trust therapy as
not our
Nigerians,
fault.
you know. So let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. And we are hoping, against all hopes, that nothing would happen to this particular refinery that has come back on stream. All right, let's take this story now on this one from the Central Bank of Nigeria, raising the monetary policy rate MPR to 27.50% from 27.25% as part of efforts to combat surging inflation. Well, this followed the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The monetary policy rate measures the benchmark interest rate. The CBN Governor, Yemi Cardoso, announced this in Abuja on Tuesday during the last MPC meeting of the year at the Apex Bank's headquarters. Cardoso said the MPC voted unanimously to raise the MPR by 25 basis points from 27.25% to 27.50% and retain the cash reserve ratio at 50% for deposit money banks and 16% for merchant banks. The committee was unanimous in its agreement to raise the MPR by 25 basis points to 27.50%, Cardoso said. Well, the CBN chief also said the MPC retained the liquidity ratio at 30% and asymmetric corridor at plus 500 slash minus 100 basis points around the MPR. So yes, that was the last MPC meeting of the year, and we know what happens. You know, a lot of investors, a lot of Nigerians usually await this meeting to know where the government or where the Monetary Policy Committee is moving, the direction, so as to know how to plan and also forecast and also get your business going. And the news that the MPC rate was increased by 25 basis points. That's to shore up inflation that keeps being on the rise on a monthly basis. That's the reason that, the MPC has given to keep inflation in check. But then I wonder again, will this, because the CBN had been increasing the interest rate in the past how many months now, and it has not kept inflation at bay as we wanted. And that's just simple. It's so simple. That's because the major thing we're still doing that's not helping inflation is because we're still heavily reliant on imports. Well, and that, of course, as a result of, this currency flotation, the foreign exchange rate with which we buy it, the inflation will keep being on the rise. And because we're a major consumer of imported goods, we'll keep getting what we are getting, no matter how much the MPC increases the interest rate. And one major thing, just before I allow you to come in, is this has not helped the real sector. Because if you keep increasing, at what rate would the real sector borrow from the banks? Except there is a special plan. That was in the days of Emefiele, when we had the special corridors, the windows that was reserved for the real sector, where you could go borrow at a particular. But that has been cleared since this administration. So I'm wondering how this would actually impact inflation if we're yet to do the right things.
You mentioned Emefiele, and I remember what Nigerians went through in the hands of Emefiele. But that aside, when you keep using synthetic solutions to solve challenges, you would still run back to the same challenge at every time. This is the issue that we're still facing about. This is what we talked about, I think, last week when we talked about the rebasing that the federal government wants to implement. Rebasing this whole monetary policy thing. You are increasing interest rates and all of that. Yes, the Cardoso has talked about that particular action is geared towards attracting investors into the economy, of course, and all of that. And it's always about the investors. It's always about who is coming in outside. But why not look inwards? Tackle the real challenges. Talk about the real sector. The real sector is what really matters. What Nigerians are going through. It's not about, you can speak all of this English from now till tomorrow, but what every Nigerian out there is going through, why not solve that particular problem?
Why not solve it?
Exactly.
It's very crucial. We've seen that lull in the real sector, as we mentioned. Very quickly, Mono, what's your take on it? Very, very quickly. We have to round up on the developing story now.
All right, it baffles my imagination sometimes because I know economics, I mean, it's basically, but in reality, you begin to ask yourself, what good has it done? Inflation keeps going up and up and up, despite increasing rates. So the rationale behind that is something that really needs to be studied. Does it work in the Nigerian situation, or we just copy and paste whatever model has been established outside the country? I mean, that's where I'll just leave it at. It's not really. Have you tried taking a loan of recent? Hear me see.
Don't go there.
Have you seen some of the terms and conditions and the amount? You just run away from it because you know this is not sustainable at all. So that's the feedback that I've gotten. So it's definitely not helping. Then you also look at how difficult it is to get physical cash. I don't know if you've observed. I don't know what the situation is like in Lagos, but in Abuja, if you want to get physical cash, you actually throw more. I may say a figure of 5,000 naira.
You're
probably paying
using cash to get cash.
naira. So, and you ask them, why is it difficult to get this cash? They tell you that, okay, banks are not giving out cash. So is that not a way of curbing in? Because if the cash is also, in circulation, if it's that much, yes. So I'm wondering why that is the case, and then we're having to still increase interest. It still doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess the economists will have to say, but who am I? I'm just a journalist.
Well, a journalist knows more than anyone. You are the rough draft of, this, this administration. But then let that, with that statement, we do hope that, the CB, the Monetary Policy Committee can, realign and look at this situation once again. The interest rate on the increase, I really do not know how that will keep inflation be at the rate that we have it, over 33% as speak. All right, that's it on our developing stories. After the break, we will be coming on to the front burner, and our focus today is on the 2025 budget. How feasible will it be, or how feasible is it? That's what we'll be focusing on when we return. Please stay with us.
Of history and commerce.
My name is Abdulsalam Muhammad, and this is new Ila Waterway. I'm driving flying boats, and this business, it don't take away our grandfather. That the business we didn't do, we didn't born up with that. So they come our own father head. So we will be their picking again. We'll continue for the place where our father then start. I'm from Lokoza, I'm from Ghana, I'm in Birakoto. For Palace.
So how long have you been doing this business? You yourself?
Me now, as I started to do business now, it's more than 25 years now.
They are very experienced.
Everything. I don't experience everything. If we rain they fall, we will see breeze. Before rain fall, you will see breeze. You will see the weather will change. Everybody where they drive will come till everything settle. Because if you breeze the inside water, you don't go put passengers for inside, but say one cross. You go leave passengers down, passengers go there for ground. If you don't stop finish before starting, put our passengers for inside boat to move.
The confluence is a testament to the geographical poetry that has been written by these two rivers.
This is Benue now. This is Niger for that side. If you see that grass way there, that small mountain way inside that water there, go like this, maybe the Benue. I don't understand me. Oh yeah, what's this on a sand? Where water dry now, all this land, na sand it be. Oh, very large land sand it be. Those people where they do Valentine people, now here would they carry them come.
Rivers, they say, are the lifeblood of any region, and it's no different here. The Niger is the third longest river in Africa, and the Benue is its main tributary.
You go see the sand. You don't see this place, it don't be different. This line, you don't see and we mark and go down. And the center of Benue do that. From here go inside. Go past Makodi. Now here go past Ram. The center of Benue be this. God. Niger. This confluence side, Niger. This side na Benue side. See the progression here from this grass. See the line. If you look at now, you can see the line. Go that point where they say that water so. And the location and from that point come here like this. Every Benue. From this side, go that side. You know see grass where they pass Benue, Niger they go. If they enter here now, Benue go pursue them, go back. Because you know they want dirty something. Always in they clean, always. Very white. But as the water they dry now, those rain water then, forest water then, now make can change color like this now. The other one come clean, pass and another come clean, pass and small. If you time reach now, oh yeah, where I pass with the boat so now sandy be all. Now go see the island very white island in Navy. So how the thing be with that?
Right now, I'm standing at a point of geographical significance. To my right, we have River Niger coursing its way from the west, and to my left, we have River Benue from the northeast of Nigeria. Now, this is more than a geographical union. It's a marriage of waters that has shaped the landscape and the lives of countless communities. Across, we can see several communities by the riverside that thrive on businesses such as fishing and commerce along those lines. As we stand here, it's not just about the convergence of these rivers. It's about understanding the intricate dance of nature. But let's not forget, beyond the geographical marvel, this confluence is a home, a source of livelihood, and a witness to the stories of the people who live along its banks. These waters have witnessed history, from ancient trade routes to struggles for independence.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
The Nigerian government has proposed an ambitious 47.9 trillion naira budget for 2025 with a GDP growth rate projection of 4.6%, designed to stimulate economic growth, improve infrastructure, and address social challenges. This proposal marks a significant increase of 34.9% from the revised 35.5 trillion naira budget for 2024 and the 21.83 trillion naira budget of 2023. Although the ambitious spending plan reflects the administration's commitment to issues such as housing, debt management, and poverty reduction, how sustainable is this budget? Let's break it down. The 2025 budget allocates 9.92 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, 7.72 trillion naira for capital projects, and 8.25 trillion naira for debt servicing, with an additional 243.66 billion naira set aside as a sinking fund for debt repayment. Notably, a substantial portion of the capital expenditure is aimed at critical infrastructure, while the government plans to establish a 250 billion naira real estate investment fund to make housing more affordable for Nigerians. These measures align with the government's goal of boosting economic activity and improving living standards.
So yes, starting off with that report, yes, Nigeria's 2025 budget is a record breaker, at least that's in Naira terms. With a proposed spend of 47.9 billion Naira, it's the biggest budget in the country's history. But here is the thing. When you convert that to dollars, the picture changes dramatically. At the current exchange rate, the budget translates to just $27.96 billion, the lowest since 2020. That's a whopping 22.27% drop from last year's budget. So here we ask on today's topic that we're looking at, Nigeria's 2025 budget, how feasible?
Really, GMC, what's going on here? And the question is Nigeria's economy growing, or are we just getting poorer? So our conversation will over around these talking points. Of course, one of the talking points is Nigeria's budget dwarfed? Also, despite being Africa's largest economy, Nigeria's 2025 budget looks dwarfed by those of smaller countries like Egypt and Algeria, of course, which have allocated $82.89 billion and $127.6 billion, respectively. Oil price risk. Now, the assumption of an ambitious oil price of $75 per barrel and target production 2 million barrels per day overly optimistic, thereby leaving the budget vulnerable to potential shortfalls. We would also be talking about external debt vulnerability. And will Nigeria's economic growth be continually heavily dependent on petrodollars and external debt financing, which creates significant external sector vulnerabilities and dollar-denominated debt obligations?
Well, yes, Emmanuel, those talking points are very crucial to this discussion and helping us to chart a course or perhaps find answers to these burning questions is a seasoned finance professional, certified financial education instructor from Lagos Business School and New York Institute of Finance, and someone who has written for notable publications like Business Day newspapers and Naira Metrics. Kalu Aja will be joining us. Also crucial to this conversation and joining us from Port Harcourt is energy expert and the National PRO, Product Retail Outlets Owners Association Nigeria, Petran, Dr. Joseph Obeli, and of course, Faiz Mohammed, a well-rounded professional with over a decade of experience in public policy, economy affairs and development. Is also the executive director of Blue Sapphire Hub. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Will be joining us now. But just before we bring them in on this conversation, let's look at a very crucial part of that report that we took on the Nigerian budget and a breakdown of it.
The question is, how does the government intend to fund this budget? Revenue projections for 2025 budget are based on hopeful assumptions. The 2025 budget assumes Nigeria will sell oil at $75 per barrel and produce 2.06 million barrels per day. However, these assumptions may face challenges as actual production currently fluctuates around 1.6 to 1.7 million barrels per day. It is also important to note that the exchange rate for the budget calculations is set at 1,400 naira per dollar, despite the exchange rate currently fluctuating around 1,600 naira to 1,700 naira per dollar. For borrowing plans, the budget proposes fresh borrowings of 13.8 trillion naira to finance the budget deficit in 2025, equating to 3.87% of the GDP. This borrowing seeks to address revenue shortfalls and sustain critical investments. But with debt servicing consuming over 17% of the budget, concerns about sustainability are increasing.
All right, let's get to the conversation. And just before we bring in Kalu Aja once again joining us from the United States, let's get to Faiz as well as Dr. Obele. Dr. Obele, I would really love to begin with you. You were there yesterday. Let's start on that, fairly good news coming from Port Harcourt. And you were there at that that opening yesterday in Port Harcourt. Is that so much of a good news for Nigerians? And what did you see, very briefly? Doctor, could you hear me?
Of NNPC, Marie Henry, and the president. I can hear you.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
I can hear you. Okay. So I want to commend the management of NNPC under the leadership of Marie Henry for showing leadership and bringing the commencement of that refinery production to reality. And the funding should not be an issue if not for the commitment of Mr. President. So also, kudos to the President of the Republic of Nigeria, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. I think it is commendable. It is commendable. So once again, we want to say the commencement of Port Harcourt refinery yesterday will bring a relief to the Nigeria economy.
Yes, it would bring relief because Dr. Joseph.
Drop in the GDP occasioned the high inflation rate in Nigeria. So going forward, we will see relief to the economy, we will see economy bouncing back, and the exchange rate of naira to dollar will reduce to the barest minimum. I think it's a good thing, and there will be job opportunities. And yesterday also, let me put this to you. Within the vicinity, the catchment area, all that was on the face of petty traders yesterday. And these activities have not been seen for about 6 years. And to further the Port Harcourt refinery yesterday, it was a that was shut down 6 years ago, which is the new one. The refinery that came up yesterday was the plant that has been shut down for 22 years ago. Since 22 years ago. So I think it is commendable. It is a good news.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for bringing us up to speed on that. So let's get back to it, to our focus now, talking about the budget. Hopefully this, refinery that's been revamped, that's been restreamed, will have a major impact on this budget with the benchmark at $75. But just before I come back to you, Doctor, let's get Kalu Aja joining us from the United States now. Let's get a brief assessment of your take on the 2025 budget.
Well, thank you for inviting me over. It's a pleasure to be here. So let's talk about the 2025 budget. The first thing that hits you is that it's going to be a lot of spending. We are projected to spend about 47 trillion naira. That's going to be a record, I believe, about $23 billion or so if you convert that out. It's based on certain assumptions. So let's go via the assumptions and see if the budget makes sense. The first main assumption is that we're going to export about 2.06 million barrels of crude oil. Currently, we're about 1.6, 1.8 million barrels a day. So we are saying that we're going to basically export a lot more crude oil, and that should fund the budget. So that's the first major assumption there. Can we do it? It's possible. Nigeria was doing about 2.5 million barrels per day in 2005. So it is possible, and we have to hit that budget. That's the first target there. The second main target is that we're going to grow the GDP from the 3.63 or so to about 6%. So Nigeria wants to double the size of its economy in about 12 months in 2025. That's a very, very tall ask, because what we're saying is that we're going to double agriculture, telecoms, and of course trade. These are the three big contributors to GDP in Nigeria. To double the economy means we have to double agriculture, which is the largest contributor of GDP growth in Nigeria. But if you look at the insecurity in the farms, lots of farmers cannot go to farm. There's lack of credit, lack of fertilizers. So it's a very, very tall, demand to say let's double the economy in 12 months. So that's the second assumption there. The third, of course, is the exchange rate to the dollar. So in the 2025 budget, we're producing about $1 to about 1,400 naira. Again, a stronger naira when we're not exporting as much as we should export, right? In the 2024 budget, it was about 750. Today, a dollar goes about, say, 1,700 to about 1,750. We're saying we're going to make the naira stronger and bring it down to about 1,400. Is it possible? It's only possible if we export more crude oil and earn more dollars coming to the country, plus more remittances coming to the country. Of course, the final assumption is going to be inflation. We're talking about 16% inflation in 2025. Currently, we're about 33%. So we're essentially saying we're going to bring down the price of goods and services, especially food, from 3 to about 15 in about 12 months. So overall, it's a very, very ambitious budget. I'm not sure if we can hit all those assumptions. Perhaps oil production at 2 million barrels a day, we might get there. But for inflation to double the GDP, I'm not sure we're going to get there. I think it's going to be a mixed bag as we go along.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that whole summary. Thank you very much, Faiz, for joining us today. It's great to have you. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm sure you can hear me. Nigeria's 2025 budget is out, and there's been a lot of reactions recently. Currently, our inflation rate is over 35%, and more than what we had projected it was going to be. And it seems it's still going to. Analysts are saying it's going to go higher than what we have right now. And the budget is out. Of course, we know that there's significant difference in what the exchange rate was with the last budget and the current one. With the current inflation rate that we are right now, are we in the right place with this 2025 budget?
I think Mr. Azar, the right word for this would be the budget is ambitious because its success hinges on robust implementation and whatever measures that the government can ascertain to have effective revenue mobilization. So managing external risks like oil price volatility are going to be key. And then we still have the issue of consistent currency depreciation. I think it has the potential to deliver significant growth if reforms in fiscal discipline and economic diversification are implemented effectively. However, I think failure to address long-term structural issues will result in disappointment, widening what is already a wide deficit between the government's proposal and the reality on the ground, which would exacerbate current socioeconomic conditions. When you look at the budget itself, it's a 35% increase compared to 2024, and scores a very expansionary approach aimed at spurring economic growth and long-term addressing poverty concerns. The assumptions, like a $75 per barrel oil price and 2 million, I think 2 million or 2.06 million barrels of daily oil production, they seem to be aimed at stabilizing the economy while still continuing structural reforms. But an over-reliance on significant borrowing, I think borrowing is up some 13.8 trillion naira this year, and the declining value of the naira strains these implementation measures, and it's going to make it very difficult for the government to reach their target this year.
Before I let Yemisi come in, you talked about over-reliance on the borrowing, but Wale Edu, the Minister of the Economy, says we cannot do without borrowing. We must borrow to run the economy. What do you say about this?
Well, unfortunately, since we have found ourselves in a little bit of a trap with regard to our borrowing, the minister is right. However, what really will inform the success of this budget is its implementation. How is the government going to be able to sustain its borrowing while still ensuring structural reform and economic discipline? Without fiscal discipline, especially, without the ability to curtail overspending, it's going to be very difficult for the government to really see to the sort of structural reforms that it's looking to ascertain. Because the falling naira will also fuel inflation, that will reduce the real value of planned expenditures and impact whatever social structural program the government has planned. So it's really very key that the government, while instituting these reforms and overseeing the implementation of the budget, ensures a certain level of discipline, a certain level of fiscal discipline that is commensurate with the difficulty of the task ahead of them.
All right, our colleague is also joining in on this conversation. Mono Balagbogo is in Abuja. For Dr. Obele, Mono, doctor is also here. All right, doctor.
All right, Dr. Obele, good morning to you. Doctor, good morning to you. Since you're in the oil and gas sector, I wanted to ask you, looking at the 2025 budget, based on the action of the government to look at $75 per barrel with the potential risk of global oil price decline, how feasible is $75 per barrel, and what are some of the policy plans that can be put in place to address any potential shortfall?
All right, Mono, I'm told that Dr. Obele isn't here. Let me throw this question to Kalu Aja now. Looking at this budget, how do you think that the government can address the significant decline in the value of the naira, which has shed over 70% with this assumption that we have?
Yeah, so the naira has lost value because we have, should we say, there's a higher demand for dollars than there is for naira. And why is there a higher demand for dollars? Because of imports of PMS and imports of food. And of course, don't forget the imports of, say, the invisible, the education and the health. So if you want to make your currency stronger, it's pretty easy. You have to have a net export position, which means Nigeria has got to export more crude oil and import less finished goods, especially PMS and all. We have the Dangote refinery already on ground now. So that's a big, big plus to the economy of Nigeria, that going forward, we will not import as much PMS. Although I'm seeing the private guys saying they want to bring in their own fuel, that's going to be counterproductive. So if we can cut down on the imports, and again, if we can then start to focus on bringing down the inflation numbers, that's reducing the purchasing power of the Naira, then you're fighting the reducing power of the Naira in those two fronts. Going towards net exports, making it positive, and of course, giving the Naira more purchasing value. If folks can hold the Naira because they know there's going to be less inflation, then there's less demand for the United States dollar. So it really has got to be two approaches. Number one, export more, have the net exports as a positive numbers. And then number two, strengthen the Naira so more Nigerians have more confidence to hold the Naira and avoid inflation. Those are going to be the two ways we can fight inflation on the falling value of the Naira.
Much, Doctor. Yeah, Mono, Dr. Obele is not here, but then you could address your question to Faiz. Are we standing by?
All right. Good morning, Mr. Faiz. Thanks for being with us today. I wanted to ask you about the projection, of course, and the proposal for the 2025 budget, looking at how the gas industry plays in terms of regeneration, and the government is benchmarking $75 per barrel. It's feasible given the current global oil price challenge in the world. So how do you think the government can navigate that?
Yes, so I think, like we earlier said, 75 per barrel oil price assumption is really ambitious because we see that global oil prices and global demand are fluctuating. There's a lot of uncertainty regarding the price. Now, if prices fall below these benchmarks, government revenues will obviously be significantly impacted. I think to mitigate whatever risks exist, they have to have contingency measures, and these are going to include measures like diversifying what their revenue sources are, especially non-oil revenue streams. Customs and taxation come to mind as the most able ways to really address this downfall. It'll also really fall down to how much they can secure with regards to foreign investments. FDI is very crucial when you're looking to expand the reach of your economy. So maintaining an oil stabilization fund would also provide a buffer to price shocks on a worldwide basis. However, really the benchmark itself is assuming that Nigeria is going to be able to produce that key 2 million barrels of oil per day. And unless we are able to ensure that level of production on a consistent basis, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be very challenging to see these reforms into fruition.
To a doctor there. Now, Doctor, if you're still with us, based on the assumption, do you think that the government can balance its ambitious oil price benchmark of $75 per barrel with the potential risk of the decline in global oil prices? If not, what contingency plan can be put in place to address any potential shortfalls?
All right, Doctor is not there. Maybe we should throw that question to Kalu Aja there on these assumptions.
Please, yes. Of course, Kalu Aja, please, can you kindly respond to that?
On this.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because $75 a barrel is very, very ambitious. Just today, we had the news that Hezbollah and Israel were talking peace. And of course, we saw the WTI that's the crude oil futures, fall to $69 a barrel. So if you also have peace, if Donald Trump comes into office and is able to negotiate a peace between Ukraine and Russia, that would mean Russian oil comes into the market. We've already seen them rumors that Trump is speaking to Iran as well. So if Iran, Russia come back to the international market, crude oil prices are going to fall. And if they fall, they're going to fall lower than 75. Like I said, today already, WTI was 69. So I think 75 is a bit too ambitious. I think we should come some lower than that, so we give ourselves some buffer, some space to maneuver. And really, I would also suggest that we should have a second budget. And I should say, okay, what would happen if crude oil goes to $50 a barrel? Which ministries can we still fund? What imports can we still allow? Have that budget, write it up, and keep it. If oil price stays above 75, that's fantastic. We don't need it. But if oil price starts to go down to 55 and all that, of course, we have to move to an austerity budget, which is what that second budget is going to be. So I would say pass a budget and also have a plan for austerity. If crude oil prices go below $60, the entire budget is no longer feasible because we've built the budget on $75 a barrel and 2.06 million barrels we're going to export. If we hit that number, 2 million barrels a day, but crude oil price goes to 60, the budget is no longer feasible anymore. The naira will lose value, inflation will go up, and then we're back to redoing a new budget with supplementary spend and all that. So I would say 75, in my view, is a bit too aggressive and too positive. We should bring it down lower to about 60. That's my take.
That's a crucial point Kalu Aja made there on that assumption. And well, maybe the government is hoping on this hope with this refineries that is bringing back on stream to achieve these goals that we're talking about. Yeah, we'll come back to you because I would really love to even get your take, Faiz, now on the Port Harcourt refinery and that announcement yesterday, and we all saw the visuals there. But just before we get your take on that, let's get the feelings of our audiences on our polls. We put out a poll asking questions, about this new refinery and what the people are hoping it would bring to Nigeria at the end of the day. So we asked a few questions, right, yesterday about this matter. On the polls. Yeah, I'm sure the polls will be coming on shortly. But just before the polls come on, he made some very critical notes here because we've seen how we'll see how the global oil prices fluctuate here and there. And hoping against, it looked so ambitious, 75%, 75 dollars. Exactly. All right, let's see what the polls are saying.
Now, the polls, of course, the question was posed to Nigerians. And the question is, do you think the Port Harcourt refinery's revival will solve fuel scarcity in Nigeria? Of course, Nigerians reacted and gave answers to that. 63% said maybe in time. That's called trust the process. And also 25%.
Like I asked you to do.
25% of Nigerians said no is unlikely to solve the issue of fuel scarcity. Because even when we were importing, anyways, we know.
Or even when Dangote came on stream,
we're still experiencing scarcity. Well, that's Nigerians. 13% are saying they are unsure if this particular revival will solve the issue of fuel scarcity. Because don't forget, we're still transporting fuel with tankers, heavy tankers that may be affected by weather, like what the NNPC said in recent times.
All right, so Faiz, quickly, let's get your own take. What do you think with this Port Harcourt refinery that's been revamped and was, opened yesterday?
Well, I think it is a good step forward. Substantial progress has been made on the refinery, which purports to begin operations soon. I think it is a good achievement on the side of the government. And if I remember correctly, the refinery itself comprises of 2 units, with the old plant having a refining capacity of 60,000 barrels per day. And the new plant is about 150,000. So that should add 210,000 barrels per day to Nigeria's production capacity. Now, is that a significant step forward, and is that enough to bring us to where we need in order to this budget to its full implementation? Well, it remains to be seen, to be honest. I think, like the public comments have rightly pointed out, there are both external and internal factors that determine the availability of the domestic oil, and whether or not those prices are going to be
Something that the general public finds aligns with their particular priorities and needs. So, in terms of the overall macroeconomic plan,
I think it's a good step forward. How much of that is really going to be beneficial, or if it's going to really see to the full implementation of the plans, we'll see. It's a wait and see approach at this point.
Of course, we are very hopeful. We'll be left with hope in Nigeria, as always. Now, Carlo talked about something recently, just now, and he talked about how this benchmark of $75 per barrel, what the effect is going to do to our budget. It's going to crumble the whole thing if the price of crude oil reduces in the global market. I just want to ask, why can't we come up with a contingency plan in this country? Pegging our whole hope on this, or putting the whole dependency on crude oil. What other plans can we really have instead of just the whole national budget is dependent on a particular thing, and if there is a fluctuation in the market, in the oil prices, boom, everything goes sideways, or everything just goes flat. What else can we do as a country instead of this over-dependency on crude oil?
Yes, I think the whole point of the budget, and one of the key issues that this administration is focusing on, is trying to diversify our economic output. So everything from leveraging on technology to streamline revenue collection and reduce fiscal leakages, to prioritizing capital expenditures over recurring costs, to expanding the tax base and improving tax compliance, to ensuring long-term economic stability by investing in infrastructural development, by trying to expand the manufacturing base within the country. These are all steps that are part of the administration's plans, and all of them, if implemented properly, would see to an increase in Nigeria's revenue base. We have an expenditure to GDP ratio of some 20% or 20.5%. And I think all of these measures could serve to improve this metric, because it's very important in a developing economy like Nigeria that into the manufacturing sector, and the value chain is with the country's that issue that we plans with regard to particular aspects of the economy. I think what has
always progress is elasticity. You might have a situation whereby
there are plans for economic diversification vis-a-vis the agricultural sector, for example, but those plans are hardly followed through when a new administration comes to the table. Additionally, I think the Naira's volatility makes it very difficult for
foreign investors to look at the country and think that this is a destination where it would be feasible to invest in a long-term basis. And we need foreign investment for that particular reason. Earlier this year, we saw several international companies leaving the country, some of them very large manufacturing firms, pharmaceutical firms, whose businesses not just increased the output of Nigeria's manufacturing sector, but also brought in a significant number of jobs. And I think unless we're able to really key into this particular sector of the economy, expand the manufacturing base, whether that is in the agricultural sector, whether that is in fast-moving consumer goods, unless we're able to really key into that particular metric, we're always going to find ourselves falling back into what we're used to at this point, which is a dependence on oil revenues.
Yeah, Mono, I would really love to, I would have loved us to look at, the expenditure to GDP and expenditure to revenue. But go ahead before I ask that question later on.
All right, my question is, meant for Kalu Aja. Now, what strategies will be employed to increase the government's expenditure to GDP ratio, which currently stands at 0.52%, lower than peers such as South Africa, Ghana, and Egypt?
Well, we've always had this talk about government expenditure to GDP. I personally don't think that indices really means anything. What we should be worried about is the government's expenditure to revenues, because GDP doesn't pay any bills. GDP is just output. It shows you what you're producing. What we worry about is the revenues we bring in. Are they sufficient to pay our debt? Right now, we are approaching a debt trap right now. Because a lot of our funds, if you go back and look at the inflation report that the federal government publishes, the bulk of the oil revenues, I would say nearly 100% of the oil revenues Nigeria gets, goes towards paying or servicing the debt. So all the oil revenues go to service the debt. Then we then use the non-oil and perhaps remittances and borrowings to build roads and pay salaries and all that. So you can't run a country that way to say your entire crude oil and gas revenues are just servicing the debt. So I think the focus should go back to revenue, to expenditures, to income. If you make 10 naira, how much can you spend from that 10 naira? How much should you save? I think that's going to be a discussion that we need to have. We have to cut our coat, according to the cloth and not the size. So that way we spend only what we bring in as revenues and not what the GDP says. GDP is not going to pay the bills. Revenues pay the bills.
Well, that's interesting. We have to cut a coat according to our, our cloth or our size, right? That's what Kalu Aja is telling us there. It is very crucial because from that budget and assumption, vis-a-vis that of last year, we see that the government increased it to some basis points or some points, and with the current flotation, the exchange rate flotation at the moment, it doesn't look so feasible. And if we also look at how much we are spending on our debts or our deficit there, is so much against what we are earning. So honestly, how this is going to be feasible, time will tell from all of this conversation. But just before we anchor on this conversation, let's take the last part of that report, that comprehensive breakdown of the budget by our correspondent.
How does the 2025 national budget compare to the 2024 budget in terms of sustainability? The 2024 national budget started at 27.5 trillion naira but was later revised to 35.5 trillion naira. In 2024, the government assumed oil production would be lower, around 1.6 to 1.7 million barrels per day at $73 per barrel, a target that the government successfully hit. For debt servicing, the 2025 budget allocates 8.25 trillion naira, nearly 17% of the total budget, while in 2024, debt servicing was 6.3 trillion naira, making up a smaller percentage of total spending than in 2025. For spending priorities, it is important to note that when the 1,400 naira per dollar exchange rate used to peg the 2025 budget is computed, the value of the expenditure for 2025 amounts to $34.14 billion, which is still lower than the 2022 budget of 16.39 trillion naira, which amounts to $39.8 billion, and 2021's 13.6 trillion naira, which amounts to $35.66 billion. Although the budget looks promising, there are challenges. Nigeria's economy depends heavily on oil, so any drop in production or price could affect the budget. Inflation and unstable value of the naira also make the planning difficult. Additionally, paying off debts takes up a big chunk of money, raising concerns about how long the country can keep borrowing so much. If Nigeria can follow through on its plans by spending wisely, managing debt carefully, and earning more money from other industries, this budget could bring some big improvements. But at the end of the day, success depends on good leadership and strong financial management.
Well, that's a very crucial point. Sustainability is the key question that we should be asking, and looking at this 2025 budget, how feasible. Just before we round up, let's get this to Kalu Aja now. Rounding up on all of this conversation from your end, because I know you'd have to go now, do you think that this 2025 budget is feasible? Will it deliver or will it disappoint?
Yeah, so rounding it all up, like you said, giving a summary, the budget depends on what the assumptions do. The main assumption is the oil output we're going to export. If we hit 2 million barrels a day and crude oil prices go down, then we're in trouble. If the US dollar becomes stronger, then we're in trouble. If we keep on importing food, then inflation keeps on staying the way high as it is, then also we're in trouble. So the answer is that it depends on how the global economy shakes out. Nigeria cannot affect the price of crude oil. What we can affect is just the output that we sell. But again, I must caution, the danger is that we might have all this oil and not have a market to sell it to. If Russia comes back into the world, if Iran comes back into the world, they're going to go after India, which is our biggest market for crude oil sales, and offer them discounted crude oil. Nigeria's cost per barrel starts at about $40 a barrel. It's cheaper in Saudi Arabia, cheaper in Russia, cheaper in Iran. So they can also offer India and China, the two massive buyers, cheaper crude oil than Nigeria. Same as the US. US is going to also start to export crude oil. So for me, the key thing is what's going to be the oil price. If oil price stays high, this is a fantastic budget. But if oil price has to come down, then of course we're building a castle on sand. So will it work out? Will it be good or bad? It depends on the oil price and how much oil Nigeria is going to be able to pump out. That's really going to be the beginning and the end of the 2025 budget. So again, I emphasize, write a new budget and keep it on the cooler and say what will happen if oil prices go to 50. That's going to be our austerity budget. We immediately go to that. We don't start to wait. Once we see the oil trending down, we stop this budget, go to the new budget and start an austerity program, which means we're going to cut spending and only spend money on health, human services, and national security. Stop the spending, conserve what we have, and try to get through what's going to happen in the international scene. That's my take.
Thank you so much, Kalu Aja. That point is what we were worried about when we were having that conversation during the break now. And we talked about, okay, what if the price goes down? We have it. You just checked now.
I just checked.
As of today, $72 a barrel.
$72 per barrel. And let's not forget, with the emergence of President Donald Trump, we are expected to see some stability with the Russia-Ukraine war. And that may bring stability to the price and reduce the price of crude oil per barrel. So it's just like, the question is, are we shooting ourselves on the foot before we even start the journey? Faiz, I would like you to answer that question. looking at the budget and the oil prices, you know, I'm still going back to the dependency on crude oil. Are we shooting ourselves in the foot already before we even start the journey?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as shooting ourselves in the foot. You think taking a significant risk. I'm not certain if the administration took into consideration various geopolitical factors that might affect the price of oil on the global market. And even if they, I do think it is much more prudent to really put the benchmark at somewhere less ambitious in order to buffer any effects that might come as a result of shortfall. Because Nigeria has so many inherent structures with regard to its economic climate, it is dangerous, really, to assume, in the way that the administration has done in this sense, such a high oil benchmark. So I don't know if shooting ourselves in the foot is the right term, because just like with last year, when we started the budget, we ended up having a supplementary budget towards the second half of the year in order to make up the finances. And that's probably, if things don't go as planned, that's probably where we're going to find ourselves again this year. We are, of course, hopeful that the plan of the administration actually does see to its full fruition. And we do hope to see that the oil production that has been projected is something that really sees the light of day. I don't think Nigeria has had much more than 1.7 or 1.8 million barrels a day since 2006 or so. So it's going to be interesting to see how the government plans to reach that metric within the time span that they've allotted themselves. It's going to be difficult. I think there's no two ways about that. And not the target in this particular.
All right, I think we're having audio difficulty there due to network. It's going to be very interesting times ahead, because we're not even meeting OPEC standard of production. The amounts that we expected to produce every day, and it's
well, you know, the government announced that, you know, it increased up to about 1.6 million barrels per day, and we're also benchmarking this on about 2 million barrels per day, which we used to do some time back. And I guess that's why this budget assumption is hoping on all of this about the increase in production in crude oil at the end of the day. But then we can't place all our hope on that.
The question is, do you build your budget on hope, or do you build it on realities, present realities, and probably adjust as the reality changes?
Yes. All right. Let's give Faiz is still on. Mono, let's allow you ask this question now to Faiz.
All right, Faiz, good to know you're still with us. It's been quite, you know, very rounded conversation. But my focus is on the. When you look at the justification for borrowing, despite, you know, internally generated revenue like we've seen in the past, and also the removal of subsidy and all of that, even recently, they had to go for another additional borrowing to supplement the 2024 budget. With this 2025 budget, do you think we're still going to see more external borrowings apart from that? And what's your justification to the talking points of governments basically about, you know, the monies generated from subsidy removal and other sources of income, which there's no explanation for how much really has been saved and how much has been generated apart from increased FAC allocations? What are your thoughts?
It does look like we have a bit of, connection issue this morning. But then we had it so clear with, the other guest earlier. And that's why we're also not able to get Dr. Obele to get the conversation going, because he would have answered to some crucial question around production as of today. Because, don't let us also forget to factor in the issue of insecurity around our pipelines, especially with the vandalism that we experienced there. I know that there was a contract with the former, what's his name now, Tom Polo. How do we classify him now? Niger Delta militant, exactly. And he's been doing maybe a good job, I would say. And there's been accusations there back and forth about, the Navy also from his end accusing the Nigerian Navy of sabotaging efforts in that area. So, that's another major area that we should be looking at when it comes to, this production and this assumption of 2 million barrels per day that the federal government is looking at.
There's a lot of secrecy and non-transparency shrouded in this oil sector. And until we are able to deal with that and uncover this mystery that is in that sector, well, I don't think with the way we are dependent on oil, I don't think we're ready to move on. Mono, what's your final take on this before we wrap up?
Talking about secrecy, what is in the oil and gas sector that we do not have an idea of? I think the issue is more of, being honest. And it's very, very important that the president who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum is honest with Nigerians. Because if you go on the press releases being put forward either by the management board of NNPC or the presidency or Tinubu himself, they seem so excited about the fact that the refinery is back on stream. And that, settles all the questions we've been asking in terms of accountability on the part of NNPC and the oil and gas sector itself. It's good news, but at the same time, we demand the accountability that Nigerians have been asking for all this while. How come during the 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari's administration, there is no probe whatsoever about what has transpired, all the monies that have been, expended in the course of revamping or reactivating these refineries? We demand answers, but we will just keep quiet and let things, just go by. And you look at President Tinubu, who said that he was going to do something different. He's, with renewed hope agenda. Well, just to correct myself, he didn't really say he was going to do something different. He said he would continue from where Muhammadu Buhari stopped. And yes, it is the Minister of Petroleum. So, just to give credit to your point about secrecy, because the president is basically untouchable when he is in that position. So he can't really be accountable. He can't, and you look at the cabinet reshuffle that he did. Most of the positions that were reshuffled or those that were let go do not really play a critical role in terms of the impact they put forward in impacting the lives of Nigerians, like the Ministry of Finance.
All right, we cannot keep quiet. We have to continue to ask the crucial question about the transparency over the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited and its operations generally. All right, that's how we anchor on the front burner this morning. After this timeout, we'll take a break. Of course, we'll take the news now. And of course, we have someone very, very important that will be joining us later, talking about financial Jennifer. The woman, women cheerleader. We have her joining us later on the show on the business segments. Do stay with us.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on Ellen 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on Ellen 24/7.
Stay up to date with Ellen 24/7. Ellen 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on Ellen 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
All right, let's take news now. President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, on the successful revitalization of the Port Harcourt refinery, marked by the official commencement of petroleum product loading on Tuesday. But this is contained in a statement by Special Advisor to the President, Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, on Tuesday, who said the President acknowledged the pivotal role of former President Muhammadu Buhari in initiating the comprehensive rehabilitation of all the country's refineries. He also expressed gratitude to the African Export-Import Bank for its confidence in financing this critical project.
Still on news now, farmers under the auspices of United Farmers Association, KADACO, have appealed to both Nasarawa and Benue State governments to help secure the release of 42 corpses of tea farmers killed in Kiana local government area of Nasarawa State to enable families bury them before 1st of December 2024. The 42 corpses, mostly tea farmers, killed and their homes destroyed, were allegedly by Alago militia in Kiana local government area of Nasarawa State over land disputes 5 months ago, and their corpses taken away as all efforts to get the corpses proved abortive. The President's United Farmers Association, KADACO, Chief Denen Utsak, calls on the Governor Abdullahi Sule and his Benue counterpart Ayasint Alia to prevail in releasing the remains of the farmers for burial. Addressing newsmen at Yelewata, a border town between Nasarawa and Benue, some aggrieved farmers described the attacks as an act of genocide against the tea people resident in Kiana local government area, an act that must be stopped.
We have been calling. We follow every responsible government agency institution, the police, the DSS, the civil defense, the office of the Attorney General of both Benue State and Nasarawa State, the governor himself, the Emir of Lafia, the Totif of Benue State are all informed. The President General of Mzoti will all reach to appeal to the government of Nasarawa State to recover this cup and give to us so that we bury it.
I am appealing to the governor of Benue State and Nasarawa State on behalf of Team Nation to hear, look at how we have been massacred in Kiana local government. In local government headquarters, no refuge, no intervention. Give us cup for us to be buried according to our own tradition. You said no. We are peaceful people who wouldn't want problem. The government should intervene.
Enough is enough. Because these people are supposed not to treat us in this way. If not, person like me, my main cousin was killed in that. And up to now, I've not seen his corpse. Look at how our people who were innocent in Kenya were wiped away. And nobody has come out to tell us why. And even for them to identify those corpses so that we cannot bury our people. That has not been done.
Well, the House of Representatives has resolved to ask President Bola Tinubu to remove the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, CCT, Umar Danladi, from office. However, the motion succeeded without the lawmakers meeting the constitution threshold on Tuesday. The decision followed a motion moved by the House Majority Leader, Julius Nyongwere, APC Edo, who cited Section 17, Article 3 of the 5th Schedule of the 1999 Constitution, and reads, a person holding the office of the chairman or member of the Code of Conduct Tribunal shall not be removed from his office or appointment by the president except upon an address supported by 2/3 majority of each house of the National Assembly, praying that he be so removed for inability to discharge the functions of the office in question, whether arising from infirmity of mind or body, misconduct or contradiction of the code.
Now, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, says improved security in Nigeria's northeast could drive agricultural output and help alleviate food inflation. CBN governor speaking after the Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the CBN in Abuja on Tuesday. Cardoso highlighted the potential for increased productivity in the agricultural sector due to enhanced security efforts, which have created a more conducive environment for farming activities. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, food inflation surged to 39.16% year-on-year in October, up from 37.77% in September, contributing significantly to the overall inflation rate of 33.88% month-on-month. Food inflation rose to 2.64% from 2.52%, underscoring persistent price pressures on households and businesses. In response, the MPC opted for a further tightening of monetary policy, raising the benchmark monetary policy rate by 25 basis points to 27.5%.
And now on the global scene, anti-NATO demonstrators march through central Athens as Secretary General Mark Rutte visits the capital to meet with the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Several thousand people marched to protest against the arrival of NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Greece. Members of the country's Communist Party and its youth branch have denounced the U.S.-led military bloc's involvement in the Ukraine conflict, as well as hostilities in Gaza. On Tuesday, following a visit to Turkey, Rutte met with Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos and Defense Minister Nikos Dendias. The talks took place against the backdrop of a mass rally declaring that the head of the NATO Wolf Alliance is unwelcome in Athens. Protesters chanted "Greece out of war" code, shut down U.S. and NATO bases, and demanded an end to military aid to Ukraine and Israel.
Still on the foreign scene, in the meantime, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says he believes that a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon would expedite the end of the conflict in Gaza. Speaking at a meeting of G7 foreign ministers in Fiuggi, Italy, he says, and I quote, in particular, Hamas will know that it can't count on other fronts opening up in the war. Take a listen.
Make a big difference in saving lives and livelihoods in Lebanon and in Israel. It will make a big difference in creating the conditions that will allow people to return to their homes safely in northern Israel and in southern Lebanon. And I also believe that by de-escalating tensions in the region, it can also help us to end the conflict in Gaza. In particular, Hamas will know that it can't count on other fronts opening up in the war.
Well, that's it for now on News Now. Don't forget you could also get more on our content over at LN247.news as well as our social media handles. When we return, we will be looking at how to financially empower yourself. And we have a popular or a women cheerleader who's very, very good at what she does, talking about financial empowerment, will be joining us on the show. Do stay with us.
Stay up to date with LN 24/7. LN 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on LN 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
Number one, no job. Number two, how will I put it? Like then everywhere is just like this. We call it tipping. This tipping situation is very difficult because everywhere, like everything just no help, no job, no food. Everything just expensive. Like everything just going up and all that. Now, if you help about the food stuff, bag of rice now, at least bag of rice now should be going like 120. I mean, how much now? No, at least this Christmas we're entering now, I was supposed to have seen something to, like everything's supposed to have come down, but everything does keep on going up. The fuel, everything does. Though I don't pray for my customer cars to spoil, though, you understand? But at least to know now pass in motor is very expensive now. So no one would like to spend so much money. You understand? But I didn't pray for them. But at least they're no more coming the way they used to come before. Like because of the past are expensive and all that. Some of my customers are selling their cars just to feed themselves because no money on in Nigeria again. You understand? So they're selling their cars. The parts are expensive. To even do servicing in a car is almost like 150,000. To do servicing of a car. Now, to buy the oil, filter, everything. So all these things, if my client is reading all these things, they'll be tired and all, but still on still. But we still thank God that at least still on still we are seeing some clients to fix their cars and all that.
It has affected my business in productivity, in effectiveness, even on the customer level too. It affects them too. So yeah, generally, a lot of businesses have gone back. Now, I heard about Cadbury that year. They actually left the country because, they were spending so much on diesel. We heard about so many other businesses like that have left just because, it's affecting the economy as well because, by the time lucrative businesses are supposed to create job opportunities for Nigerians are leaving the country just due to this factor of no light. How is that going to create job opportunity for the youth? So apart from the businesses, it's affecting the economy, it's affecting the citizens.
Transportation is the key thing. If transportation problem is addressed, things will begin to get to normal. But you can't imagine that from Egbeda to this place, I paid 800 naira. So, how much am I earning that I should pay that amount? From Ikotu to this place, I paid 1,200. Coming home, I don't know when I'm going, how it will be. And that is how everybody's facing it. People that are going out to buy food stuff to sell, they are facing the same thing. even when the fuel is what one can afford, or let me say, at least you can get fuel easily. But the drivers are also looking at it that buying fuel, in addition to paying Agbero, in a city like this, we are paying Agbero, is costing money. What remains now is for Agbero to come and meet you and say, for this place that you are standing, give me 200 naira, give me 100 naira. Why should you stand here? Because if a driver will park a bus and say, and one person enter, a passenger enter a bus, they will come and say, give me money. For that one person that enter. Sometimes even when they have to drop a passenger, they will come and say, give me money. On what ground? Is it that the government is not aware of all this? Or are they the ones sending those boys to do like that? Because if they are not the ones sending those boys to do like that, they would have looked for a way to get them rid out of the road. I still remember during the military administration, Colonel Marwa get them rid out of the road. They were not here.
Negatively, it's been a flip-flop. It has nothing. Today you see Bayo Nanuga, presidential press release. That's what we hear every day. And when you look at the presidential press release and look at what's happening, they are not balanced. You don't see reality. Do you understand? So nobody will say, unless one wants to deceive himself, we cannot say that 10 years ago a bag of rice was 8,000 naira. And today, 10 years apart, we are now buying the same rice for 90-something thousand naira. And you are telling me that it's affecting me positively. Unless I want to deceive myself. Government is claiming to have saved over 20-something billion from subsidy and whatever. The same government is applying to go and borrow 2-something billion. So if you have saved 20 billion, why are you now borrowing 2-something billion? So you see, by the time you analyze some of the press releases and what they tell us, you begin to ask yourself, who do these people think we are? How do they even take us? You know that they are not serious themselves. They are not also taking us serious. And we are not serious about the whole situation. I think that's where we are seeing it, and that's the situation in Nigeria. We, the followers, also contribute to it because for as long as we continue to align and attune to tribe, religion, my brother, my friend, it will be difficult for us to get out of where we are. We just need to be brutally frank to ourselves and get people that can do the job, people who are honest to do the job. In fact, sometimes I get tired. Some of the politicians we have, some of them have been here for over 20 years sharing this money. And is it that they don't get tired or they have not gotten enough? Or I don't just know why we cannot get it right. But if they want to be honest and sincere to solve our problems, our problems are not too difficult to solve. Dangote, a person, can own a refinery. But Nigeria, as a government, cannot manage 3 or 4 refineries that we have. It shows a lot of problem.
Well, for my business, you realize that prices of things have skyrocketed. You have more money now, and you realize that your more money cannot buy you as much as in time past. So your I would say cost of living generally has gone on the highs. Some will say over the roof. For me, those people who are in charge should just do the needful to make life easier for the people. That is what governance is all about. Making life easy for your people. That is, for me, I think that is what governance is all about.
We're glad to have you back. Well, yes, despite the hardship, you could empower yourself. So ladies and perhaps gentlemen, it's time to take control of your finances. Are you struggling to manage your money or grow your business? That's a very crucial question. We heard that Vox Pop people lamenting here and there, but then there is something you could do. So today we continue a series and the focus is how to be financially empowered at this difficult time. Well, we've got just the right person to help us, deal with this particular one. And she's a personal finance expert, investment banker, founder of FinTribe, Nigeria's first and largest women-only finance community, with many women trained in personal finance. She's also known as a women money cheerleader, engaging a vibrant audience of over 140,000 people daily on social media. Well, Emmanuel, this is a big one.
This is a big one, of course.
Are you a woman today?
Allow me. Breathe.
All right. She's none other than Jennifer Awirigwe, popularly known as Financial Jennifer. You weren't rolling the drums, right?
Okay. Jennifer, it's good to have you. It's good to have you here. We've been waiting for you, and of course, our amazing audience have been sending in messages and saying they can't wait to, join in on this particular episode. Of course, that you have a wide reach, and we've been waiting to have you. Thank you for joining us on this morning today on LN24.
Mano, you are lucky to be joining the women's conversation.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us on LN24/7. And I don't know if you listened to that Vox Pop and the voice of the people and the people lamenting about their finances, the cost of living and all of that. Yeah, let's just get your own take generally. First of all, your assessment of the economy. You are an investment banker. You've been there and all of that. You've been there, you've done that. Just give us a brief assessment generally of what you think about the economy.
Okay, yeah, it was each time I listen to people's take like that, it can be tiring, honestly. And it's not you don't even have to hear anyone say it before you realize that what is happening in the economy now is not new, if you're being honest, because as far as I can remember, it's as if each year it keeps getting worse. But the thing now, the question we ask ourselves is, if I can't influence the government, if I can't influence in what happens in the national economy, at least I can tell what happens in my own personal finance, in my own personal economy, right? So that's the way I always look at it. Inflation rate is like almost at all-time highest, more than 30%. And it's the question, like, how are people surviving this? Look at a typical example. Wait, how much is a bag of rice in your place? Let's even start from there. What's the bag of rice currently at your side?
That's a very big question.
We can only afford cassava gari, but then again, of course, we know what the prices are, over 70.
No, it's not funny. It's not funny. Because I remember, was it not last year, or just barely last 2 years? It was Christmas period like this. You know this thing you do at the end of the year, you try to get a lots of bags of rice to support one another. I remember vividly, then we were trying to get 38,000, and we were shouting, like, what is happening? It's getting so bad. But right now, it is more than 100,000 naira. And you know the worst, the prices are flying, but income is almost at the same level. For a lot of people, they still earn the same amount of money they earned before. So how are they coping? How are we coping? Because it's all of us in this economy, right? I'm hoping that this conversation at least will shed some light on things I believe that would help us, if not to beat inflation, but to be better off. So yeah, I really sympathize with all of us because we are in it together. But I'm hoping we become more intentional on how can we make more money and how can we manage the situation. We are going to discuss all of those shortly.
All right, Jennifer, thank you very much. I think we should go ahead on the conversation now. Let's start with you telling us this, or telling the audience. Of course, all of us, we're here to learn. Now, you've been an expert in this. You've done this successfully. And I want you to answer to this. How can people effectively manage their income and expenses to prioritize savings and investment?
Okay, I like that. I love that. Started from managing expenses before we now come down to savings and investment. At the end of the day, how do they put it? Now who see food chop, they save and invest, right? So, let's take a practical example now. If after listening to this conversation, I I said I want to do the most with my money. First of all, I want to understand the little I have at the moment, where is it going? Because that is one question many of us cannot answer. Where is our money going? Yes, we make money currently. It may not be enough, but the little we have, can we even tell what we are spending it on, where it is going? If we are not able to track that, that is a problem. Because you know what will happen? If you can't track your income, if you can't tell your money where to go to, business will help you track it for you. Do you get? So what would I do, or what would I suggest you do to start the first step? Can you go and download your bank statements? Let's start from there. Get your bank statements, do a review. What you can get the one for last month. What did I even spend my money on over time? Like, where does the bulk of my money go to? You will be shocked at some things you don't even know. You're like, why am I spending 70,000 on a handbag? I'm not even going to use anytime soon, right? But when you are buying it, you don't think about it. You just buy these things, we move on. But in retrospect, when you look at these things, it's like a wake-up call. And something else that will shock you. In fact, if you do a review of the kind of money that flows into or flows through your bank account, you be like, let me get this money. But if you ask yourself, it's like, where did it go? It's always an issue. Okay, so yeah, first of all, see where the money is going to. What this would help you to like talk to yourself. See, I'm spending so much on this. I have to like cut down. I have to prioritize. This is where scale of excellence comes in, right? What am I spending on that can wait or that I can reduce? Because this is economy, we just have to find a way to like scale through, right? So we get that act of the way. Now, when it does come to saving and investing a portion of it, you come to budgeting. You already know where your money is going to. Now you tell it where you want it to go to. Because doing this review of your statement of your spendings, you might not be satisfied with what you have done so far. Now is that part of telling it where to go? That's where budget comes in. I will even like a lot of us struggle with budget until today. Financial journalists they struggle with budget because it's not easy, like trying to pin down every cent, every naira, every kobo you have. But something that personally helped me to ensure that I am spending this money, but I am also having something to be left at the end of the day, is prioritizing. Like, I have to remove that savings and investment portion first. Whenever the income comes in, I have to remove that part first. So when you do a review, you tell yourself, hey, I know things are tight, but we still have to save something. We still have to build up our fund, because what most of us do now is work for money. We need to get to the point where our money actually works for us. And that's what investing, saving with interest does for you, right? So define the amount you can comfortably, even if not so comfortably, be willing to stretch yourself. What amount can I pull out every month? I don't know how your income comes in. For most of us, we are paid monthly, right? Now set that aside and tell yourself that whatever happens, regardless anything, this money I must put it where every month. It's going to be hard, but tell yourself, ask yourself, there was a time you used to earn way lesser, right? Let's assume now currently you earn 100,000 naira, and you feel like every month I have 90k to 90k to take care of yourself. It may not be enough, but remember that there was a time you used to earn way lesser. When you were doing service, how much were you earning? Emmanuel, can you remember how much you were earning when you were still serving? It was way less. How much?
Don't worry. Tinubu has reshuffled the numbers in my head. Now I cannot even think of what I was earning them because you cannot compare.
Exactly.
Why are you putting Emmanuel on the spot?
I don't know, Jennifer.
Chebi is the one that wants to join the women's conversation.
Exactly.
Right? That's the glory and all of that. But there was a time you were earning lesser than what you earn right now, and you were fine. You were able to scale through, right? So, okay, let's go back to our analogy. You have 90k left. Trust me, that 90k will be fine for you. You are able to like budget within it. And something that is going to do for you is to stretch you. Okay, I have 90k left, but it's not that enough for me. Now it backs the question of what can I do to make more money? I'm hoping that we are going to shed more light on that conversation, because as much as you want to save, there is a limit to what you can save. That's just it's a limit to what you can save. You can't save everything. You still have bills to pay. So the other side of the equation is, how can I supplement? How can I earn more? So yeah, you've identified where your money is going to. You've made a plan, a concrete budget of that, where you're going to spend the rest of it. But most importantly, you have moved aside
Of course.
Yes, we'll try to get Jennifer back on. I was even going to tell her that, well, another man is here talking about Mono.
Mono, look at what we have done to ourselves. But anyways, you know, it's very interesting the way the conversation is going, because let's not forget, as we grow, responsibilities grow. Exactly. But I'd like to hear from Mono.
Well, Mono, Jennifer is back now. Jennifer, financial Jennifer, Mono is also here. He's a colleague in Abuja. And I'm sure he's also itching to ask you one thing or the other. Another man, no. See, men want to listen. Okay.
Most definitely. Jennifer, good morning to you. I'm a huge fan. Some of the things that you've talked about, painting a situation of a married couple. Let's say a man, his wife is not working, and then there are bills to pay. How do families who find themselves in that and come out of that loop whereby every money they have, I mean, they are obliged, you know, to spend it on necessities? You've got to pay the children's school fees, you've got to pay for the house rent, you've got to provide food in the home. What's your advice for Nigerian families who are married and are struggling and are finding it difficult to come out of these lack and inability to be able to have a sustainable livelihood?
Okay, apologies. I didn't know that I was off. I was busy going on the question. Advice for families that are struggling. Right? Not something that many of us don't want to say, and something that many of us might not take well. But let's even start from those that have not gotten into the system. I really think that every individual should life before starting a family. That beautiful thing. At least before starting a family, let us be at the point where we know that to an estimate. Now, for families that are
having connection issues, but then we'll get that sorted. But just before we get it sorted, let's also hear from our audiences. You know, we also put out a poll question around this matter, and there are responses already. I'm sure a lot of people are itching to also listen to financial Jennifer on all of this. Yeah, so this is what we have. How are you staying financially strong? That's a very, very important question at this time.
You know, the answers are not already, of course, it's what you expect. You will definitely do what the president asked you to do, tighten that belt. Well, because our audience, 80% of our audience says they're cutting down unnecessary costs. That means they're tightening that belt. I wonder if there's still holes in this belt that the president has asked us to tie. 20% are saying they build multiple incomes. You know, in Nigeria today, it's kind of very challenging to build multiple streams of incomes, because to build multiple streams of income, you need capital. When you don't even have the capital to spare, how do you build the multiple streams of income? But anyways, that's why Jennifer is here to educate us.
All right, Jennifer, we just put up a poll and we got the reactions from the audiences, and just what you said was cutting unnecessary costs is what they also said. So please go on what your thoughts earlier before we had that connection issue.
Oh God. Okay, first of all, I think we are going to have a rematch, because this network or not, we must get this money discussion right. Apologies for that. I'm not sure why I keeps going and I think
we're struggling to
please go ahead, Jennifer. Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did mention trying to cut as much as you can, but if you're being honest, there are some things you can cut out, right? We still need to survive. So another thing you can consider is to think of alternatives, Okay, I know that maybe I shop from this this is a brand I use occasionally, but now these are getting more expensive. Yesterday my friend called me, she was shouting that toothpaste is now 3,000, I'll be 3,500. And toothpaste is something we cannot afford not to use. What do I do in this situation? Can I look for an alternative brand? There are brands that you can still get the same toothpaste 1,000 naira. So if you don't have any attachments or any what's it called, health issues for using a particular brand, you can switch alternative. But let's jump back quickly to Emmanuel says something I love, that everybody says, what do you say? Have multiple sorts of income, but you need money to build capital or something like that. I think that's what Emmanuel said. Yes, let's even jump to the conversation of how do you create multiple source of income? How do you expand your earning potentials? Because that is even, I feel like that's one of the most important question we should ask in this economy. There's a limit to what you can save, but there's no limit to how much you can earn. So how can you do that? Number one, if you're a career person, how do you position yourself to earn more money? Is there a course you need to take? Do you need to leave your workplace? Leave. They did not tie your destiny to that place. I know loyalty is fine, but come on, if you're looking to expand our earnings, if you're looking to make more money in the industry, if your company cannot give you that, my dear, maybe it's time to start looking elsewhere. In fact, there's this report by Forbes that said that people that change job 2 to 3 years, they earn, is it like 50% more than people that stick to the same company 10 years, 20 years. Loyalty is nice, but I hope your company is able to compensate you financially, because in this economy you need it, right? That is one aspect of it. And then another thing I think a lot of us should start looking at is to leverage this creator economy. Can you begin to sell your knowledge? There is so much money in this economy. Like, you see people maybe creating content, trying to teach 1 or 2 things. You'll be like, what are these ones doing? If I tell you the money those people are making. But one issue we have is that a lot of people usually feel like, what do I have to teach? What do I know to teach? You have a lot to teach. Okay, you went to school. What did you study in school? Is there a way you can begin to share that knowledge with every other person? Yes, in study, I'm a chartered accountant. I read accounting in school. There was a time I began to make content, and that was back in the years. A lot of people were business owners. I realized that they struggle with their business expenses. They don't know how much they make. So what I started doing was, I would just make posts. I was on Facebook then. I was just making posts. This is the way you can do your business bookkeeping. This is the way you can monitor your income, your expenses, just basic things. And before if people say, hi Jennifer, please can you come up and set up this for me? Do you have a template I can use to track my expenses? Before this is business, so right. I think I built a template. I was selling how much back then. That is one way you can leverage your knowledge, right? And another thing, you can do an ebook. Okay, what is that question that people constantly ask you about your field, or something you feel like people would know? Even if it's not your field, go and learn it. A lot of people talking about there are different finance people. Yes, I'm in investment banking. I'm into core finance, chartered this, chartered that. But there are also people doing amazing in the industry. They didn't study finance. They are not investment banking. They are not in a finance professional. But based on experience, based on what they have learned in the past, they are able to thrive in that industry. So yes, if you're looking to go into any field, it doesn't have to be something you studied in school. It is something you are passionate about. For some people, it's public speaking. They speak so well. They can teach others. For some people, it's relationship. Right? You can begin to talk about these things, and gradually.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we're with you. We're with you. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for breaking that aspect out for us. But let's look at it now. Yeah, you talked about leave that place if it's not paying you. And I'm wondering the fear that many people have. How do you conquer that fear? I'm sure you've had people with that, with that question that have come to your box or that have spoken to you about how can you conquer that fear to empower yourself to look elsewhere.
I love the word. I think, Mana, you already gave us the answer. Empower yourself. You can't just up and leave and say it's not only job, right? For some people, it could be your location. I remember how things started changing for me when I relocated. I used to stay somewhere else where I schooled all my life. I stayed this place all my life. But after youth service, I moved to Lagos. And if I'm being honest, that is like a game-changing decision for me. So it's not just the job. It's not just your job. It could be your location. right? Feel free to explore. There could be other opportunities in other places. But remember, most times the grass is not green at the other end. It might not just be you. Okay, yes, Mena already said it. Empower yourself. You want to leave a job. Even if not leaving the job, maybe you just want more. You can just walk to HR and say, I want more income because the economy is not good. But if you are being fair, I think a lot of companies should review their package, right, to be in line with what is happening. But even aside that, you could take a proactive step. How do you empower yourself? Maybe in the industry, for example, I'm in investment banking. There are some tools that are powerful for us. Let's say presentation skills, data analysis, some of these basic things. I could go and learn them. Now, if I'm talking to my boss about maybe salary increment, or if I'm looking at new places, I already have what they are looking for. Do you get? So that way, it makes it easier for you. You know that even if I leave this place now, I have what the market is looking for. So it's more about upskilling. Thank God for the internet. Thank God for YouTube, free courses. This you can just take a time out of your day to learn. I have a friend. I think that was 3 or 4 years ago. She came to Lagos. I think we came relatively the same time. She had a hard time finding a job, but then somehow she stumbled into cloud computing. I don't even understand the full extent of what happens there. She stumbled into it. She's like, okay, this is a free course. She took the free course. She not said, other related. Once you go into a space, you start opening your eyes to other opportunities in them, right? That's how she got into tech. And today, oh my God, she has taught more than 20,000 people in soft skills, in soft tech skills, and it's not free. Today, she is in Nigeria here, but she works for different global organizations earning in hard currency. Why? Because she picked up a skill, a random skill, and she honed herself into that. She became an expert in that. So for you listening, I know it's hard to make some tough decisions, but if you are prepared, it makes it easier for you. Just up and leave without knowing what next. Okay, those for some people it works out for them. But for a lot of us, we have to be prepared to make sure that where we are going, we are ready for the market there.
Is getting hotter, and of course the phone lines are open for you to also join in on this conversation. Jennifer, we have to have you in the studio. A rematch, as you said, because the network had made it so difficult to hear you at some point. This is very, very interesting, and many Nigerians are looking to find this way or this opportunity or even these words of motivation or encouragement to be able to push them to do better for themselves and find a way out of this difficult financial situation that they may be having. We'll be rounding up shortly, but then I will allow Emmanuel to ask this very last question.
Jennifer, something a lot of people play down on, and it's it's something that bites people a lot. A lot of people are in debt and are finding ways to come out of it. How do you manage your debt, paying your debts while trying to save? You're talking about saving and investing, but you are owing. How do you manage both of this?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, the issue of debt, ordinarily, our first reaction to debt is that it's a negative thing, but that is one powerful tool the rich have learned to build money, like to build wealth, to grow their money, debt. But the only difference is the way they handle their own debt is different from the way the rest of us do. For some of them, they get this money because when you look at most of the history, even government, they borrow. When you're buying it, if you're investing in treasury bills, you are lending money to the government, right? If you're investing in commercial paper, I think currently, MTN commercial is currently ongoing, and a company as big as that is coming to us to borrow money, right? So it's not a negative thing the way we see it, but that is get out of the way, because a debt can be something you use to change your life, to change your finances around. But I think I have an idea of the type of debt you're talking about, the one we've used to take care of things, bills. Now we have to repay them. We can't run away from it. That's one thing you should know. And please don't be like the rest of them. Now, once they are owing people, like, in fact, they block them. They don't reach out anymore. Like, they even insult you on top. Please don't be that and that, okay? So as a responsible individual, please maintain the line of communication. I don't know who your debtor is. If it's a corporate, if it's an individual, you should have a plan of how you want to. Don't do it. Don't freestyle. No. most people, what they do, they peg it to their income. If they're on a salary or something, they peg it to it. They have a particular amount they deduct automatically every month, right? That will help, so that whether you like it or not, you are clearing your debt. And again, it still comes back to, is it possible for pick up optional income sources?
All right, Jennifer, we have to have you back, definitely. We've been speaking with financial Jennifer Arigwe, an investment banker, who has been talking to us about how you could empower yourself at this difficult time. The networks have not been able to, allow us enjoy the most, much more part of it, or get more details about how to go all about all of this. But Jennifer, we must say thank you so much for your time with us this morning. We would have to have you back, and we want you live in the studio with us so that we don't have these network issues. Thank you.
Happy to. Thank you so much, Mena. Thank you, Emmanuel. I'm looking forward coming back, because this conversation, if it's about women and money, count me in.
Thank you.
We are going to have some more.
Don't worry, I would always find my way to sneak inside, even when it is women and money. Thank you for coming on the show today.
All right, this very last one on this segment, we can't not talk about it before we go. Welcome to another exciting segment of the Rhapsody. All right, just before we give you much more details about it, we'll take a very, very quick break and we'll be right back.
Let me tell you this. Some years ago, this maybe like about 5-6 years ago, I was speaking to the director of Rhapsody Realities. 5-6 years ago. We said something about a world outreach with Rhapsody. I said to her, not yet. I said, just wait a little more. We're doing these outreaches, different cities, different nations. So, can we just have one big one around the world? I said, not yet. I said, because when we do it, it will be global. Not global in name, it'll be one big sweep.
Now is the time for that one big sweep. Reach Out World Day, on December 2nd and continuing throughout the month, from cities to nations, communities to villages, across the plains, valleys, mountains, and hills, everyone will be reached in this mission. Nations will be covered with the Word of God as we reach the people with Rhapsody of Realities, in 8,123 languages and 4,000 dialects.
You with me on this? Tell me, are you with me on this? We're going to make it happen.
Get involved today. For more information, visit www.reachoutworld.org or call the following numbers today.
Well, welcome to another exciting segment of the Rhapsody of Realities Reach Out World Outreach. It's a privilege to bring you stories of faith, hope, and transformation from around the globe.
Of course, Rhapsody of Realities is a life guide that brings you a fresh perspective from God's Word every day. It features the day's topic, a theme scripture, the day's message, the daily confession, and the Bible reading plan segment.
The author of Rhapsody of Realities, Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome, in this video says Rhapsody is all about the Bible.
You know, they really need, that's why I told you the meaning of Rhapsody of Realities. See, you got to understand what it is from the very front cover. was saying this is a compendium of amazing realities in a long poem. Think about it. And it's all about one man. His name is Jesus. When you read Rhapsody, you love Jesus more. You fall in love with him. You study the Rhapsody, you love your Bible. You know, somebody said, what if people begin to read Rhapsody and then they don't read the Bible anymore? I said, it's impossible. It's impossible to truly study Rhapsody and minimize the importance of your Bible. It's impossible. Rhapsody is all about the Bible. I mean, the scriptures, the verses that always guide you back to the Bible. And without the Bible, you can't study Rhapsody.
Well, Cindy Pereira from Toronto, Canada, came in contact with Rhapsody of Realities at a point in her life where she's struggling with demonic attacks and substance abuse. Her testimony is an inspiring one of faith and transformation.
Hello, my name is Cindy Pereira from Toronto, Canada. I'd like to thank the man of God, Pastor Chris, for the Rhapsody of Realities. The Rhapsody of Realities has changed my life. Before I came in contact with the Rhapsody of Realities, my life was so out of order. I would, since the time I could remember, I was having demonic attacks. And I was actually finding myself, as I was getting older, having relationships with the devil. And as I was doing that, to cope with that issue, I would find strategies, and some of my strategies would be either to drink or to do drugs just to cope with that experience that I had. So it would make it easier for me as I was going through my life and experiences. I was having issues with my children, and it didn't help the fact that I was doing drugs, and also because I was feeling the pressure of life and feeling the fact that the devil was there, you know, able to have control over my life. I got to a point where I wanted to end my life, but thankfully, you know, I met up with somebody and they gave me the Rhapsody of Realities, and as he was doing that, I never read it, and he would ask me to read it, and I would always lie and say, okay, yeah, I read it. Like, I never had anything against it, but I just, to me, because the devil played such a role in my life, and I felt that he had control and power over everything because of the fact that I never knew the power of God can overtake the devil, because I was so focused, and I grew up with the belief that the devil was everything in my life because he was always there. So eventually, when he did give me the Rhapsody of Reality, I just became sick, and I was tired of living this life, and I just wanted a way out. And I was looking for every possible way, from drugs to drinking, from doing a whole bunch of negative and bad things, that it wasn't working. So when I did in fact get the Rhapsody of Realities in my brain, I was like, you know what? I tried everything else. Why not just give this a try? Why not? Let's see if this works. So one day I decided I was going to focus. I can focus on everything else. So I said, you know what? I'm going to put now my focus on this, on the Rhapsody of Realities, and I want to see if this is going to work and change my life, because surely everything else that I was doing was not working. So I put that focus on the Rhapsody of Reality. I started reading it and meditating on the word. And as I was doing that, I brought it to work one particular day, and I was so focused on the book as it was going to work, and I read it in all my breaks continuously. On my second break, I was reading the Rhapsody of Reality, and it was a verse on protect your heart with all diligence. As that was happening, I looked up and I opened the door to go outside. A car was speeding and it was about to hit me, and I felt someone pulling me back. And as that happened, I was shocked, because as I fell, it felt like I was falling in a cloud. And on top of it, when I looked to the left of my hand, I was seeing that I was holding the Rhapsody of Reality. As everyone came to see if I was okay, they were asking me, am I okay? And I was like, no. who pulled me back? After I asked them who pulled me back, they were like, no, nobody pulled you back. I said, yes, I know somebody pulled me back. I felt a warm embrace. I know that God sent me a messenger angel to save me from these accidents. I would like to thank Pastor Chris for the Rap City of Reality. It has changed my life, and I am now a member of Christ Embassy, Hampton North. Thank you, Pastor Chris. I love you. Thank you so much.
Already ongoing of the amazing Rhapsody of Realities. But let's spotlight Benin Republic, where Pastor Victor Buchi and his team are reaching out to people in their adopted streets.
Hello everyone, this is Deborah reporting live from Cotonou, Republic of Benin. We, the members of the Rion from Posterité Spéciale, are getting ready for the reach out word with the Rhapsodies of Realities, penetrating with truth. We're going to be going to our adopted streets, making sure that everyone receives the Rhapsody of Realities. Over here, the team is getting ready for distribution as they stamp the Rhapsodies to be used. We're so excited. We know that Cotonou will not remain the same again.
I am Pastor Victor Buchi of Posterité Spéciale, that is the special breed. I am the team head of the Rion Benin Republic, and today we are starting the Reach Out World campaign, penetrating with truth, penetrating with the physical copies of Rhapsody of Reality. And we have already our adopted streets. We have more than 10 streets here and some specific areas, and our brethren are ready. We have also TiVo, copies of TiVo here, so for our youth here in Benin Republic. And also we have a Rhapsody for kids, Say Yes to Kids. And we are all going out and ready to share copies of Rhapsody of Reality. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Father, we thank you. We are going with the message of our man of God. We are carrying this grace, penetrating with truth. In the name of Jesus.
We've just finished praying. Now we are going to the city of Cotonou, Republic of Benin, to distribute the Rhapsody of Reality in our adopted street. Follow us as we go to distribute the Rhapsody of Reality.
We are still in Cotonou, in Benin Republic, in one of our adopted streets here in Vedoko. And this street has some markets and many shops and some resident areas, and we have about 10,000 people residing in this area. And then we have youths and then adults and children here, and we are already loaded with our ministry material, our messenger angel, Rhapsody of Reality, to penetrate every home in this area.
Well, we say c'est bon. The Rhapsody of Reality's Reach Out World Show is a call to action, a celebration of faith, and a testament to the transformative power of the gospel in today's world. December the 2nd, 2024, there will be a global distribution of billions of copies of Rhapsody of Reality's devotional, which is the world's largest evangelical crusade or outreach that will ever be held in history. Well, that's it
It's an amazing one
Amazing,
there.
right?
Congratulations to Rhapsody of Reality. It's been an amazing time on This Morning on LN 24/7. And of course, I know you've enjoyed the ride. We had amazing analysts. Of course, the last one to Capital was Financial Jennifer, teaching us. Well, we're definitely going to have Financial Jennifer come on the show right here in the studio. You don't want to miss it.
Well, again, we say thank you to all our guests that were able to join us today. We say thank you to all of you and our audience also. We appreciate your time on LN 24/7, as well as Mono. We'll say thank you for being a company as always.
The pleasure is mine, Yemisi Emmanuel.
All right, do have a great day. Don't forget, don't change that dial on LN 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.